found myself recently asking myself if Japanese archive fashion is still relevant. And what an insulting question, right? Of course, Japanese archive fashion is not really all that relevant right now, I don't think. Bold claims, but ones that I will back up with hard data in this video. Pay no mind to the fact that I am not a data scientist, and math was always my worst subject by like a long shot. But I've crunched the numbers, you can trust me. But before we get into the hard data, I would like to tell a little bit of a story that really first got me thinking about this topic. So a while back, probably late last year, I was added to an Instagram group chat of like big archive sellers, content creators, stuff like this. Like a lot of the names, if you're into Japanese archive fashion, that are kind of big in that scene, were in this group chat. It was kind of cool. It made me feel cool, you know what I mean? But one day, everybody was talking about Japanese archive. They were talking about number 9, right? They were talking about all that 14th edition, that if 6 was 9, you know, the mud maxes. And then it felt like overnight something switched, and suddenly everybody in that chat was talking about V-Kei.
V-Kei.
What is V-Kei? I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. All right, I just stopped filming for a bit to literally look it up and confirm that I know what V-Kei is, and I think I got it about right. So, if Japanese archive fashion is historically influenced by rock and roll, punk, grunge, hardcore, cult cinema, perhaps even sometimes just like broadly Americana, like Japanese archive sometimes tips over into Western at times. V-Kei, I would say, is much more kind of naturally Japanese at its core. It is kind of like an amalgamation of, I would say, maybe like goth, emo, and like hair metal, and the style associated with that, from the clothes to the hair and makeup, things like this, all of it is almost closer to costuming, I would say, than what I traditionally think of as like streetwear or just everyday wear, the type of stuff that I'm often into Japanese archive for. So that's like the dividing line, I would say, between what I think of as Japanese archive and more modern Japanese like V-Kei design. God, I'm gonna be so embarrassed if I'm saying V-Kei wrong the entire video. But that's not to say there isn't sometimes significant overlap between the two camps, right? Like, I don't think it's any coincidence that the time at which I noticed that switch flip, the most talked about Japanese archive designer was 14th edition, because they really tipped that scale into the V-Kei side of things. Also in that camp, you have the heavily related brand Kimori, and I would say Shohei Takamiya. Basically, if you could see them dressing a Final Fantasy character with like minimal alterations to their existing style, it's probably V-Kei or V-Kei adjacent. And listen, no hate at all to that style. It just struck me with how quickly and how forcefully the interest shifted. And since that point, I have seen less attention being paid to the more traditional Japanese archive designers that I've seen really held up on a pedestal over the past 5 to 10 years or so. But let's not just take my word for it. Let's look at the data, okay? Searches on Google and Google Trends, a great research tool, kind of peaked sometime late last year, early this year, around Japanese archive, and literally about a month after that, you saw search terms for V-Kei peaking. Like, you can see it right there in the data. It's actually crazy. And then when you get into some of the biggest Japanese archive brands, or just Japanese fashion brands in general, you'll see that interest in Comme des Garçons has been steadily waning for years now, actually. 14th edition is strong-ish, no surprise, but still far off their peak of earlier this year. Also, literally zero interest, at least in the US, prior to their relaunch a couple years ago, which is interesting. I would have thought that some people would still be into it, but no. LGB, Le Grand Bleu, is at one of the lowest points it's been in the 3-year window I was looking at. And on a related note, If 6 Was 9 is on a similar downward trend after peaking earlier this year. But listen, search terms, they don't say everything. Sure, maybe less people are interested, but what if the right people are interested? What if the people that are interested are paying more and more? Well, I wanted to check that, so I used eBay's research tool, and a lot of these sales for Japanese brands happen on eBay for whatever reason. And just to be clear on my search criteria, for the Google Trends, I was looking at the past 3 years in the United States, because that's kind of really what I'm focused on. And on eBay, I was looking for the last 3 years in men's clothing, that category specifically. And what did I find? Well, LGB prices are quite sharply down. 14th edition is down much more than I ever would have expected, but it is like a low amount of inventory. Like, there's more fluctuations the less pieces sell, to be honest. Kimori is literally at its all-time low right now. And listen, I don't want to belabor the point. Tornado Mart is down heavily. Number 9 is trending downwards. And sadly, the Soloist is matching that trend as well, both in searches and sale prices. And that's a brand that just announced its closure recently. You would have expected them to at least get a spike in searches at that point, but really the interest just isn't there right now. But I'm not going to pretend it is all doom and gloom, okay? Some things are steady, like Comme des Garçons pricing is relatively steady. If 6 was 9 is doing just fine. That sounded good.
That sounded sexy. Yeah, okay.
And if there's one thing that I've learned more than anything else, it is that everybody wants to be Yohji Yamamoto. I mean, truly, I think that's just a general truth in fashion. Like, if any influencer, designer, model, whatever, if anybody in fashion could Freaky Friday themselves with Yohji, they would do so. But I am talking in a more literal sense. Yohji is rock solid, my dude. His stuff is just boom. The consistency apparently doesn't just apply to his design, but also the market for his clothing. And last but most certainly not least, actually undercover pieces are on the upswing as far as the pricing goes. So it's kind of like the mainstays, like Yohji undercover, they're solid. The rest are struggling right now, to be honest. Now, I know this all sounds like doom and gloom, and it probably is if you are a Japanese archive seller, but I'm gonna assume that is a very, very small amount of you viewing. Most of you are probably customers, and if you are a customer, an appreciator, an aficionado of this realm of things, there's actually kind of not been a better time, at least in the past couple of years, to be into this stuff. Because low pricing, while it's bad for sellers, it's really great for us as people who just want cool clothes. So in the past couple months, I would say, I've made some of the coolest, lowest priced Japanese archive purchases that I've ever made in the entire history of me being into this stuff and collecting it and things. So in this video, I want to show you these new pickups that I truly got for cheaper than I ever would have expected to. And throughout, I'll be giving you tidbits on the market, why I think things may have dipped, and of course at the end we'll throw on a fit. All of this will come together. Stay tuned, let's go.
Join the Patreon. There are a bunch of exclusive videos up there. You get private Discord access, private sales, all that good stuff. Join the Patreon.
So this right here is a leather coat.
No, it's not, Killian. Obviously, that's not leather. That's like a wool check thing or something.
No, loser. This very much is made of leather because it is made by Isamu Katayama Backlash, who are known for experimental leather treatments. Which means that this jacket you see in front of you is not like a tweed weave or whatever it looks like from a distance. This is a coat that was made in Japan of pig leather. Oh god, I love Backlash so much. So Backlash, even in the most intense days of the Japanese archive craze, was still kind of under the radar and I think underappreciated. He has been around since the late 90s doing some of the coolest leather work in the world. Some of the coolest Yohji Yamamoto pieces like leather jackets and stuff were collaborations with Backlash. And the stuff just has the rock and roll vibe that I'm always going for in my stuff, and the quality is damn good too. So from the cut of this thing to the shape of the collar to the kind of ombre effect as it goes down to the hem, and listen, you'll especially love this because split back, but then boom, look at the shape of that coming in, it cinches in at the waist, and then some crazy sick print at the back. This is like that classic punk DIY clothing. So for you're like spray painting with this stencil. I'm about it. I like it. And this one I paid like $300 for. And this is how crazy the Japanese archive market is now. I may have even overpaid. That's how cheap this stuff is getting. So goddamn, if you can get this stuff for under $300 now, like, why wouldn't you if you have the money? But maybe a leather jacket that doesn't actually look like a leather jacket is not your jacket of choice, you know? Well, Backlash does like semi-normal looking leather work as well. So this clearly is a leather like puffer vest or something, but what I really love about this is that the puffer elements of it, they almost look like from a distance like a crocodile scoots. I think they're called scoots, yeah. But anyway, from the front zip to the like tall puffy collar, the kind of shape of it, damn, that's good. And this one is a little bit more of a typical fabrication using sheep leather instead of pig leather. And I'm pretty sure this is down-filled. It doesn't say on the tags, which is a shame, but like if you look at some of the seams, you can like see the feathers trying to come out, which is always like a telltale sign of like a down blanket or something. But look at that shape of it, the like V at the back, classic. It's like if you took that classic Montclair puffer vest thing and just made it crazy Japanese archive by doing it in black leather. Sick. And you know how much I paid for this one? $120 US. It was so cheap that I literally feel bad. Like, was the person who sold this to me, was their house being foreclosed on? Did they have like an unfathomably deep gambling addiction and they were like lost in the sauce and they just needed that next bet, you know what I mean? Like, Jesus. But maybe that's still not leather jackety enough for you. So this right here, I would say is like a sporty biker jacket by LGB Le Grand Bleu. I don't know why I always have to say it like that every time. And this one right off the bat, I'll say I got for, I think, $180. And I honestly don't know why it's so cheap. Like, If 6 Was 9 stuff is crazy expensive. This piece from If 6 Was 9 would probably be like $700-800 at least, and it's not like the LGB stuff is that much cheaper at retail than If 6 Was 9. I think they just have the vibe of being a little bit less like artisanal, and maybe they don't have the same cachet, but the brands are so closely related. Like, a lot of the stuff you can mistake for something by the other brand. So I guess my advice there is like, just get LGB instead of If 6 Was 9 as long as the piece is cool. But one thing I do love about LGB is they're just like extra. So obviously you've got the kind of like moto collar here, the quilting at the inside. You've got multiple zippers going like over the hem, multiple different types of fabrication. Like this one just kind of like raw cuts at the leather, and then you get the padding inside, whatever you want to call it. You've got a gray mesh leather, I believe, still underneath the armpits. And a sort of like technical, I'm guessing this is like a nylon fabric. At the inside of the sleeve, while the outside is leather. And then at the cuffs, you've got zippers, which reveal red leather. And at the back, the craziness only continues. If anything, it's crazier because the mesh continues back and it's much more visible. You have a zipper to nowhere. Really, if I were to undo that, you'd see nothing there. You've got some shoulder stuff, which kind of has, I don't know, like Rick Owens-y vibes or something. And then an entire, like, you know what, maybe this, I don't know, nylon or cotton. Let's find out. This feels kind of like tech fabric to me, but I guess we'll see. And fully lined, by the way, in yet another fabric that does feel like cotton, I would say. Oh my God, this is why I love LGB. Their fabric listings are always like 18 things long. So cow leather, that's the main thing, right? A lot of cow leather. Deer leather, okay, that must be the red part, would be my guess. Yeah. Cotton. Linen. Oh, I guessed nylon. I was way off. Linen. 50-50 cotton linen. That's sick. And the lining, Cupro. Man, I was way off. And made in Japan, of course. At that pricing for these fabrics made in Japan, like, LGB is one of the best steals in Japanese archive, I think. All right, okay. You don't like leather jackets. I don't know who doesn't like leather jackets, but apparently it's you, and you want to see something else that's leather. So how about some Japanese archive leather footwear? This right here is an extremely archival pair of Yohji Yamamoto Pour Homme leather boots. This is like the epitome of Japanese archive right here, because these are from autumn-winter 1999. And like, first of all, this is just my favorite shape of boot. It's just so classic. It can work with pretty much almost any outfit. I think I can't really imagine an outfit that this wouldn't work with. So a piece that old from such a good designer in such good condition, it is well worth the $290 that I paid for them. And even better than that, these were a collaboration, I guess you'd call them, with Horween, or they were made with Horween leather, which is a classic American leather tannery known for Shell Cordovan, horse leather. So this is just like as good as it gets. It's got that nice classic sole here, esoteric Japanese sizing. Like, what is a size 4 shoe in men's Japanese size? Does anyone know? I don't know. Leather lined, you can see the stitches and nails underneath. Just the type of like unpretentious fire that Yohji Yamamoto just destroys at. But maybe, I would disagree if you were to say this, but maybe this is just a little bit too, I don't know, boring for you. It's too unpretentious, you know? You want something more out there. You want something by the most playful and surprising brand in Japanese fashion. Well, then you must be talking about the brand Doublet, who we have 2 pieces from for the video today. And the thing is, both of these pieces are hiding things that you would never expect from just looking at them right now. Let's start with this sweater right here. Now, Doublet, I would say, has not like reached the Japanese archive status. There are a few like very smart collectors, I would say, who are starting to catch on, but their stuff is still very under the radar, but it's some of the most insane stuff being made in fashion today. And to be honest with you, when I bought this sweater, I didn't even know what was hiding within it. I thought, oh, it's a nice like roll neck sweater with a sort of like Supreme logo flip is what I would consider that at the chest. Cool, that's what I thought it was. But hey, I get it. And first thing, look at that cuff. That's really cool. You got a thumb hole. I didn't know that was there. They didn't show that in the listing, but hey, that's great. And then I put it on and I realized, wow, that is a bulky roll neck. Why is that? So, hello? What? Oh my God, dude. Yeah. That's real. That's real. If you have ever wondered, hey, what would I look like with a turnip face mask sweater on? Well, guess no more. So that's the secret piece hiding within this sweater. What about the jeans? Well, these are just a pair of like classic, like high-waisted tapered jeans, right? No, the answer actually, you'll see if I turn these around. Because look to the back. Yeah. And this is where I got to start telling you that Doublet puts the best information on their care tags. Like if every brand operated like Doublet does, life in fashion would be 10 times better. Because with each piece, you get care tags with this much information. It's a CVS receipt of a care tag, okay? But in a good way. Here, you're not getting coupons for Dove shampoo, okay? You're getting the tightest, cleanest fashion information on earth. So we'll look at the sweater in a sec, but for these jeans, okay? So these are the high-waist silk denim slim pants, and these are from the Hide and Show collection. The collections are very conceptual in a great way. And they tell you, for the denim fabric, the warp is cotton with dyeing in indigo or black. The weft is made in fine silk. So that's like the weave, the directions of the material being used for the weave. Cotton and silk. And then they even give wearing information, okay? The trousers are designed to be extremely low rise and can be worn in 2 ways. If you wear it at a normal waist position, it looks loose, and there are wrinkles at the feet, like a lot of stacking. On the other hand, if you wear it as a high waist, suddenly you can make your legs look longer. We would be happy if you could show your sudden longer legs talent hidden in this product. So that right there, for this one piece of clothing, is more information than most designers or brands give you in an entire runway collection. The amount of just like fashion knowledge that they're throwing at you is invaluable. Now, the sweater is from the Surprise collection, and it's called, fittingly, the Disguised Turtleneck Sweater. This one is a turtleneck knit with wool, and the wool is not scratchy. On the cuffs, there are holes for thumbs, so that you can use as gloves. On the chest, you see Surprise embroidery, and surprising of this product is turtleneck part is actually a face mask. You can enjoy wearing 2 ways to make people surprise. Oh, the like ESL nature of it makes it that much better too. So Doublet, they kill it. Pretty much every single product they make has something cool going on. Sometimes it's like just cheesy or just cringe. Sometimes it's more interesting than it is useful or wearable, but it is the most interesting stuff happening in fashion right now, honestly. The surprise sweater right here, $80. The silk jeans, both these pieces made in Japan, by the way, new with tags, $50. All right. The market for this stuff is straight up broken. So, I mean, I guess my advice would be like, get on it before people realize how broken it is, because something isn't right here. All right. But what if you want stuff that's like actually wearable? No offense to Doublet. So this right here is a nice classic worn and washed and painted Readymade t-shirt, a brand that we have already given their flowers on this channel before, and rightfully so. And what you're dealing with right here, obviously their stuff is very authentically worn. Like, you can be confident that whatever treatment they've done here, whatever oils these are, whatever sun fading this is, whatever paint this is, it was all done with the utmost care. If you care about these things and want to be a cool kid, it's finished with the single stitch, stuff like that. And of course, in the modern like ERD hypey era we're living in, a nice pocket tee is nothing to be mad about. And what's going on right here, if you're not aware, this is just a very simple and clean logo flip of the Viper Room logo, something made famous semi-recently in the past few years, I would say, from Enfant Riche de Primé, but also much further back. The Viper Room was Johnny Depp's bar and club that he owned, where River Phoenix OD'd. But listen, I got this piece brand new. This is a piece that is new with tags. I got it from an official Readymade stockist, new, so I didn't have to deal with any sketchy secondhand stuff, any weird Japanese proxies. This is a piece from the last season, so a new piece for $150. And listen, that is not a cheap t-shirt. I recognize that, but listen, it's a lot cheaper than you're gonna get like an ERD Viper Room piece for, and for all intents and purposes, I would say it's probably treated more authentically. Readymade, the higher end stuff, yeah, of course it's made with like vintage military surplus fabrics and stuff, but even the t-shirts, they're made well, they're made in Japan, and the stuff is just good. Okay. Readymade, everyone's aware of it. It's played out. You don't like it. You think it's lame. It's too expensive. Whatever the case may be. You want some real underground Japanese archive stuff, the kind of stuff that people talk about in whispers, in group chats, and subreddits and discords and things. The stuff that the average fashionista is not aware of. All right, well, I got something for you. This is just one of the coolest jackets ever. I'm just going to leave it at that, but I will give you a little bit more. Okay, fine. This is an archival piece by Kimori Morishita, who is a Japanese fashion designer who did this label in the 2000s, and he's just a person that has been bouncing around the Japanese fashion scene, creating brands in his own name and other names since the early 2000s, but this stuff is just like never really fully taken off. Like, he's shown at big fashion shows and stuff, but it just never became like a big hit in the way that the Japanese archive designers you know and love probably have. But just because it didn't take off doesn't mean it isn't the sickest shit ever. Now, first of all, this fabric, we'll talk about the fabric, but like you can just look at it playing in the light and see there's something going on there. But all right, a nice kind of wide collar with metal studs going around, which is also a feature around the cuffs. Zippers everywhere, military style shoulder flaps with the buttons, beautifully shaped dual chest pockets with button flaps, a wild and weird skull patch at the arm with just like metal pieces sewn in all over. I don't even know what to make of that, but it's cool. All finished with a partial lining, which makes it just move a bit more softly and also just makes it quite a bit more breathable. And I would say the breathability is pretty important because let's talk about that fabric. So this jacket right here is made of silk and silver. Have you processed that properly? It's made of silk and silver, as in like the fine metal silver. They turned it into a thread and they made a jacket out of it. I've never seen that in my entire life, but it's the sickest shit I've ever heard of. So I don't care if a brand never took off. If they are doing Japanese archive fashion with the precision and the luxury and design of something like this, I am going to lap it up, especially when it can be had for $200. Like, It's just not computing. Like, this is just not a reality we should live in, where this could be had for less than the cost of a family dinner at Outback Steakhouse. You feel me? Got a little worked up there, but it's just this piece of just, look at that little studs at the ends of the pockets. Damn, that's nice. But all right, that's enough. That's all the archive pieces we have. I promise. I know it was a lot, but man, that was a lot of good pieces. And by my count, we have 1, 2, 3, counting, math, like I said, not my strong suit, 8 Japanese archive pieces to look at, and we've got to try them all on. We got to put these to the test. We got to have a Sweet 16, a Final 8. What's the sports term for the tournament of 8 things? We're going to find out what's the best. And the answer is that they're all the best, because this is such a nice timeline to live in, where these can be had for the prices they can be had for. All right, let's try them on. All right, let's get the craziness out of the way first with this doublet stuff. I feel like this is archival clothing in the purest sense, in that it is not stuff I'm probably ever really gonna wear, although maybe the jeans to some degree, more than the sweater, but it's that stuff that you can put in your closet or even on display and be like, look at how insane and cool this is. I don't really understand why there isn't a good archival market for it. I have to assume it'll happen someday and people just haven't caught on yet. Like, I'm sure a decade, 2 decades down the line, it'll be looked at similar to like Walter Van Barendonk or something, where suddenly everyone wakes up and realizes, oh shit, there's tons of really cool, crazy, out there stuff that's unlike anything else in this brand's archive, and now we're all about it. Okay, now we can be normal. We'll do the blind date flares, the lace-ups, very much in the If 6 Was 9 fashion, I think intentionally so. And then we've got the Yoji boots and the Readymade shirt. I think these are the 2 brands in this video that do have the strongest archival and collectible markets for them. And I think on Yoji's side, that is just because of the history. He has proven himself again and again and again to be an incredible designer and one whose clothing holds up over time. And then Readymade, whether rightfully or not, they have really built the narrative around themselves that their stuff is handmade and it's special and it's vintage and all this stuff that people who are into Japanese archive or like luxury streetwear or whatever are into. And for that reason, I think the market is going to probably continually be stronger for both of these brands than they are for maybe some others. And then if we move on to the Backlash, man, this coat is crazy. The difference from a distance to up close is just one of the greatest I've ever experienced in a piece of clothing. But listen, this is one that I'm just never going to understand. I don't know why Backlash stuff isn't more valuable. Like, full leather stuff from storied Japanese designers is usually more pricey than this. And the only thing I can think of, right, is that he's been around for so long, so he doesn't have like the novelty and the newness and the cool factor. But he also, I don't think, has done as many runway shows as someone like Yoji. So he's been around for decades, but doesn't have this crazy deep archive that people can dig into and keep rediscovering over and over. That's literally the only thing I can think of, and I could be wrong, but that's my guess. My God, though, this vest works perfectly with like the chrome hearts, like here, the cemetery cross leather sunglasses. It's so good. This should be up there with the coolest designers in the world, I think. And what about LGB? I don't know. Maybe is it like a little bit too street? Is it maybe trying a little too hard? Potentially, like if 6 Was 9, it has that kind of bohemian thing, like there's lots of feathers, right? And stuff like this. It feels a bit different. It's that like Johnny Depp type of extra. Whereas LGB is a little bit more like throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like this one jacket has like 8 different things going on within it. So it's never fully digging into what really makes it special. And maybe that's why it doesn't have the same cachet of like if 6 Was 9 or something. But to me, this stuff is significantly more wearable. And that's honestly what I value even more than specialness or something. And then finally, we got the Kimori jacket, and this one is just, I don't know, it's mind-bending to me. There's this entire category of Japanese designers who never really entered the archive. It kind of reminds me of like, if for European brands, like why did Faith Connection never fully break through? I don't know, some things just don't connect, you know, they weren't lucky or they didn't make the exact right steps, have the right shows at the right times to get the attention they maybe deserved. So I mean, the amount of pieces that are just sitting out there waiting to be discovered is nearly endless, especially to somebody in the West who is only accessing these Japanese pieces a bit kind of piecemeal, you know? But to me, I think this might be my favorite piece in the video, and the fact that it's so underground might make it even better. All right, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below what you think of all this. Is the downturn in Japanese archive real? If so, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? How are you feeling about it? Are you making the shift from archive to V-Kei? Are you riding the trends? Are you with me? You sticking it out in the kind of punk rock and roll influence type stuff? I don't know. You tell me. All right, I'll catch you next time. Peace.